I would like to explore some of this that you told me on how religion, sects, and geography play an important thing, right? So, just to give you like a little bit of a background on what got me curious is that if you look at the post 1940, like the post World War II era, right, and then there were a lot of changes that took place simultaneously. The Zionism
Yeah.
movement, and then whatever happened in the Middle East with Britain and France trying to split up the
France.
colonies and make the petrochemical dollar,
Yeah.
whatever happened. At the same time, a lot of things were going on in Asia as well, where the colonies were being diluted. India got her independence. We had a
Indonesia.
bloody bifurcation of India to Pakistan and India, as we have right now.
Yeah.
And that was also, there was an underbelly of religious sectarianism in that division as well. And so if you compare the template, it's more or less the same with India and Lebanon, and some of the other South Asian economies as well. But what kind of got
Yeah.
me curious is that in this part of the world, we adopted this political system which was anchored on this framework called secularism, right? Which meant that the state is agnostic, and the state is separate from all the religions that the citizenry practice. But India took slightly a different approach, where the state, when we said that the Indian state is secular, it did not mean the state is an atheistic state. It just meant that it will treat all religions equally. It would, not necessarily share in all of the beliefs. It would do what was right. And most of our laws were actually anchored on like merit, and then like also caste, because it was a huge factor of suppressed castes here, and the caste actually belonged to the majority community, which is also Hindu. So you had to uplift. You couldn't just uplift a religion. You've got to uplift castes in the religion as well. But what was interesting in Lebanon, what I saw in some of the commentary, is that Lebanon practiced something called confessionalism, which meant that we will give every community or every religion a place in governance, or a place in society. And now, if you scale that time frame, 75 years after, let's say, the Southeast Asian model, and 75 years in contrast to what Lebanon experienced, we've got very, very different outcomes. Now, it would be very simplistic to say that, this was the wrong method to have followed, and this is what led to the outcomes, because you had to deal with multiple other things. You had two giants in the form of Iran and Saudi rising as well, and that whole stage in between them just became a proxy. So I would like to know your take individually on if that was the right thing to do. Like, just take us back to the inception of all of these, of the present day problem, and anchor that with the fact that if this has, because given the rich cultural history, you've had the Crusades, you've had the Arab invasions, you've seen the place has seen multiple conflicts, right? So how much of that is anchored around that part of history, and how much is anchored on modern history? So anyway, whoever wants to
Who
start.
wants to start?
Go ahead.
From where are we talking from? Like in period of time?
Like,
Let's see what happened pre-Civil War, probably.
Okay, so basically, the era where Lebanon was in a way glooming.
In the 60s.
before the Civil War.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah, you could say that was the highlight of the century.
Yeah, but I guess it happened before, like since the independence
so-
started happening.
So wait, did Lebanon have like a king or something of that sort at any point in time? Did it have like
No.
a king?
No.
No?
So here's the thing. What happened was they gained independence from the French at some point, and there was a lot of Christian lobbying and power play involved, because they were the dominant religion back then. But the thing is, so then the 50s and 60s, leading up to the 70s happened. I don't know. We're not very clear on this part of our history because you're taught that nowhere. So you need to pick up bits and pieces from people around. There's nowhere where it's written what happened, and every side tells a different story, because at the end of the day, the civil war happened. They all fought with each other, and they ended up ruling the country now, which led us to the crisis we're in right now. But what you're talking about with confessionalism, and that every sect is guaranteed a place in the government, that happened as a sort of solution to the civil war, to guarantee everybody's place, and that's also what's leading to the system that's not being updated, because everybody wants this to stay the same, even though it's not running. But this is, was it the right move or the wrong move? You just took a country, and obviously they were fighting on based on religious lines, but the interests were underlying interests were definitely different. It wasn't a thing about I believe in Muhammad and I believe in Jesus, and they started fighting. It's underlying social issues. Those weren't tackled. Instead, we just packaged the solution as if you all get to exist, but in fact, it's actually we're dividing society now based on religion, and we're saying these are the groups that exist. But in reality, what happened after the Civil War and how the economy progressed, it divided the people based on different lines. Now you had poor people in every religion that had the same interests, but they were not being represented in the government because they were being small fractions in each of the different sects or religions. So this way of dividing society based on one line and saying that these are the groups that exist, I think it's totally wrong, obviously. And this is what led us to where we are. We had, it became
quick question.
A very lazy political system.
So a quick question. So before confessionalism, what you're trying to suggest was that there was a lot of Christian lobbying happen. Which means, do you mean to say that the prime minister, the president, whoever was administering were Christians? And in the Christians, I remember there are sects again, right? Like Maronite and
no.
Yeah.
So I believe I think it was since its conception that the prime minister was, or maybe they used to switch religions. Back then it was more like a, not unwritten rule that you could just break sometimes, that the president needs to be a Maronite Christian, the prime minister a Sunni, a Muslim, and the speaker of the parliament a Shia. I don't know. We could look up the list on Wikipedia and check out because they would list them by confession as well. But after the Civil War, this became very hard, and the power play became that it's not that we want to get rid, for example, of the Christian president. No, we want to keep the president Christian, but we take away a lot of his powers and we give it to the prime minister. So this is how the cards get reshuffled every time there's a new alpha in town.
Sorry, it's just many of our listeners might not be aware. So is that what confessionalism means? Is it this earmarking of power that president should be from certain sect or religion? Is that what confessionalism is?
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming based on Vishnu's question. I'm not also familiar with the definition.
Right.
But the way Lebanon is Lebanon's political system works is that the president needs to be a Maronite Christian, the prime minister and the speaker Sunni and Shia, and you also have, for example, 120 parliament seats that are divided on the different sects and religions that exist in the country as well. Right. So based on the population census that was done back in before the Civil War, I guess, then that's how you get how many
seats every
how many
gets.
seats every group gets.
So that's a curious thing that you said, because you said there are poor people in each religion or in each sect, but they are not represented because this is sort of a rigid confessionalism way of representing people. Is that the problem? One of the problems that you say?
Yeah, I would say this is the problem is that this is the main focus instead of social
Exactly.
issues that people are facing every day. The main focus is keeping people scared from what they don't know, which is the other religion or the other side, and that's how they're always too busy to be looking at their own situation.
I see.
Yeah, how I see it is actually that when they saw that things are, shit is hitting the fan, they also saw an opportunity that could benefit them, the leaders, that we can use religion to guide the people that follow us in the way that we want, and guide the country in the way that we want. So they just like you said also, they ignored the actual problems, and they said, yeah, it's a religious problem, so let's just solve it in this way, in the confessionalism system.
I see. So
Yeah.
these actual problems, if you say, if I am to list, say, unemployment as, and say, do you have poverty in Lebanon?
Do we have what?
Poverty.
Poverty.
Oh.
Yeah, the data is really hard to get to because the government doesn't bother checking in on citizens and seeing what's happening with
Yeah.
who's living where and what they're doing.
So Elias, you highlighted that the census is also a problem, right? Because nobody really knows what.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So if you don't know how many Sunnis or Shias or Christians are there, how can you allocate the seats? And then by
so
going on a
it's still-
population basis,
that's-
you're incentivizing religions to produce more representation for themselves, which means they get a larger share on whoever's populations.
True.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's the thing. Every election, it's always a point of discussion. Which system are we going to use for this election? Because the people who are in power get to decide that, and they are the ones who, or get in the way or try to put their own benefits and interests first. And they always lean back on previous iterations of a law that was made in the 60s based on census from back then.
And the thing is that Christians have migrated in a lot of moments in the history of Lebanon. So now the majority is actually Muslims. So I think also the Christian people in power don't want to make a new census, so that it doesn't. So that you can't see that, Christians are the minority now, so we have to have a majority of Muslims in the parliament. It would seem to the followers of these Christian leaders that they failed them, and I think
So-
we would have a bigger problem.
I have one question to all three of you, right? And this is like a very opinionated question that all of you can answer. So if you analyze some of the fundamentals on what you need to make a democracy work, one of the most important fundamental is social cohesion. Regardless of how many sects or religions that you have in the country, how well you can function as one voice and one vote as citizenry. So even in India, despite of all the differences that we have, we still have a baseline that nothing supersedes the constitution that we have, right? So my holy scripture, your holy scripture is all there, but the most sacred scripture is the constitution or the law of the land that we've decided for ourselves. And how do we decide that?
We don't have that.
Okay. So
see.
So when did if I let's say
So
distrust
basically,
in society.
if you want to get married,
Uh-huh.
you can't get married like in a public place or under a public law.
Okay.
You only get married under a religious law.
Right.
So for civil law, marriages, inheritance, this kind of stuff, everybody follows their own religion. And if you don't have a religion, you're basically fucked.
We don't have a common identity, I think, also. Like a Lebanese identity.
there's nothing that unifies them as, oh, we're Lebanese people, apart from the geography, right? There's no, is there like a cultural underbelly which you can call yourself, oh, I'm Lebanese, despite the fact that you might practice different faiths, you might belong to different sects?
Yeah, it's also, no, I would think no, because also Christians like have a very different Lebanese identity than the Muslim Lebanese people. So
Can you like go in a little depth on that, like, because like how do we understand, like?
Like an example, for example, if somebody asks me about education in Lebanon, I would just start saying that everybody is highly educated. Everybody goes to school, they finish school, and then they go to university, they get a degree and whatever. But when you think of the bigger picture, this is actually only my environment, which is the Christian area of Lebanon. When you see other Muslim areas, you would not say the same. Like like everybody lives in their own bubble.
I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if it's a...
What?
Yeah, I definitely don't agree with that. I think this is a very... it has nothing to do with religion, if you're educated or not. And it's a very... I think it's what you inherit from this system, because you're separated from other people in your country, and you don't realize that you have so much in common with them.
No, see,
Partly
I would agree with Tina, right? Like, and this is just coming from pure stats in India as well. We have a very large Muslim population in India. One of the things that happens when you anchor every public policy around religion is the fact that Muslim children remain one of the most undereducated in terms of national education, right? Because the kids go to madrasas, and in madrasas they don't necessarily teach you modern subjects, which are...
That means schools in Arabic.
No, it's not about it being specifically...
It means the
Islamic
Quran.
school in India.
Madrasa means school.
Exactly. Madrasa means a school, but it's a school focused on, let's say, Quranic, like the teachings of the Quran, and things like that. And so now the government's pushed, that, okay, you can teach the Quran, but also teach like science and like, but it's not as widespread. So the Muslim population in India, just like the backward castes in India from different religions, actually remain one of the most undereducated ones. So I partly agree with Tina why that could be a problem. I don't know if it's a religious problem or...
But I guess the problem then is being extremist in the religion. Like every religion, if you go extremist into it, I'd probably like... You don't have sympathy with... I don't know.
Maybe another example of this is that Christian Lebanese call themselves Phoenicians, that they come from...
Phoenicians?
Like the Phoenician people, and that doesn't apply to the rest of the Lebanese people, and that's actually wrong if you look at the history. But I don't know, they don't like to be called Arabs, and that their ancestors is actually just Arab people.
Why wouldn't they call themselves Lebanese instead of Phoenicians or
Arabs?
Good question.
I think it all comes from the French Mandate, which is when they favored the Christian population on other religions, and they created this wedge, and where everything became focused on religion and on the differences, and this is where also Christian people started getting priority to getting better education through missionary schools, and this is where like this difference was also being set in the minds of people, that to start seeing themselves as different than their surrounding. I think this is a way to make the local population identify with you better than with their neighbors as a colonizer.
Yeah, the colonizer playbook is the same. The divide and rule works everywhere.
Yeah,
it works like a charm. But what I'd like to know is, okay, before that, when you still had all of these religions occupying the same land, how was social cohesion then? Were people getting along with each other well? Were there violent conflicts between each other? Like I just want to know, I just want to gauge the level of distrust each religious sect has with one another. Because if that's the
But
underlying problem,
before the French
Because the
colonialism, we were always occupied by the Ottomans for
True.
the 400 years prior to that.
Ah.
So
Yeah.
the divide and conquer policy has been there for ages.
okay,
And also during the Ottoman Empire, Ottoman like colonization, even like Lebanese between each other, they were how do you say يحتكروا.
They were monopolizing.
Yeah.
That it was always made out to be a religious conflict for everybody, but in fact it's just the merchants and interests.
Yeah.
They are the ones that would monopolize the market when in crisis time, Christian and Muslim merchants alike, and they would keep people without medicine, without food. They would back in the First World War, a third of the population died from hunger because there were rations because of the war, but the main issue was monopolizing the market.
Yeah, like the people who were delegated from the Ottoman Empire, they were also just taking advantage of their power and not being there for their people.
And right now it's back to the same thing, because right now the banks, which is actually basically the merchants in just a different suit, screwed over the people once again, and they set up the biggest Ponzi scheme in history, I would say.
True.
Is it pre-Civil War that you mean, the Ponzi scheme with the banking?
This is now. This is the past. This is the
2019.
what we're paying for in the last 2 years, and what's been going on for the last 20 years, I would say.
Okay.
so do
Undercover.
each of you agree that there's one point in time where it all fucked up? Like, is there one event? Like it can be different for all three of you.
I don't
I
think
guess
so.
we don't know because it was like almost all of the time shit.
Yeah, exactly.
It's always been like that. What I would say the moments in time you can pinpoint are the moments in time where you could have done something about it, and we failed every time.
Exactly.
Because
Like
as an outsider, right? Just like I have no idea about what's going on, but your prime minister got blown up. Then when I was in Glasgow with Elias, one of your prime minister got kidnapped by the Saudis. So I've seen like events in isolation.
Remember that?
That-
Hariri.
That's his son. That's the son of the one who died.
Oh, who
Yeah.
got blown up? Oh, damn. Wow.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And before that, there was the Civil War. So we as outsiders know individual events that take place. Do any of are these events an outcome of something, or did it just like that's when it started at all? Like, is there something that went to shit that caused all of this?
Honestly, because we've been in bad situations all for a long time, that I can talk about like the good moments that when you say that, oh, maybe this guy is gonna change something. We've had some of these people in the past century that
A lot of them got blown up.
that just got blown up, or they had to quit politics. So they didn't let them work for the good of Lebanon. So there was always people in power. The dominant type of people was the people who just want more power.
I will play devil's
Yeah.
advocate, and I have a question for all of you, just like to gauge something, right? So let's say a leader emerged out of Lebanon, and he's not necessarily from your religion or your sect. Would you still support that person if he's a good leader?
Yeah, sure.
Of course.
I would say there is a good leader that emerged from a different sect, and if you look at Hezbollah, for example, you can't deny the leadership and organization skills that take to set up such an operation all by yourself.
No, let's not
So,
go to an organization.
that
The
is
support of Iran.
No, but and Nasrallah as a person. But as a person, for example, Nasrallah is also a very charismatic and powerful leader. I think it's about the message. If he's trying to, he wants to build an Islamic country, and my view for the country is something more inclusive for everyone, which is, I would say, a secular, just non-religious government.
No, but look, and the reason why I feel Hezbollah is like again an extreme is because there's so much chaos in Lebanon that's anything with structure, even if it means it's like an extremist fundamental organization, just the fact that it's got structure is enticing to people. That's my take from it. I don't think Hezbollah has something so inherently good that people want to support that organization. But I'm asking in terms of
even like to confirm what you said. Like on Friday when they had when Nasrallah had to give a speech, nobody went to work to Beirut because they know that the followers of Hezbollah, they didn't go to work. They didn't go to the office. Because they know that if he said, we're going to go to war, then it's going to blow up. And they know that the impact of his speech is very, very big.
When did Hezbollah emerge? When did it become a prominent force for all of you guys in your lives? When do you know that, oh, okay, they've arrived?
Yeah, since we grew up, we felt the presence and we knew about it. But in the history of Lebanon, I think it came to be in the 80s, but I'm not sure. It was just the result of total chaos and absence of a government in the south of Lebanon, and some conspiracy theorists would even argue that it's in the benefit of Israel to control the southern borders of Lebanon because there was a lot of PLO. Suicide attacks coming from Lebanon and Syria back then, so they took the Golan Heights and set up Hezbollah. But I
when did the conflict with Israel start? Like, how did Israel become a problem? So
Jesus Christ.
There was this just step by step. There was this one guy who got blown up. So who blew him up? Was it a Lebanese guy from a different sect, or was it Israel? Which one?